The night was merciless. A cold wind cut sharply through the air, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and distant rain. Along an abandoned stretch of cracked pavement, a lone figure shivered. A German shepherd, his coat heavy with mud and rain, eyes wide and searching. His thin rope bit into his neck as he pulled, desperation etched into every muscle. The only company was the ceaseless howl of the wind and the soft rustling of dead leaves, swirling aimlessly beneath the silver glow of a hidden moon. His whimpers echoed, fragile yet defiant, a silent plea for a rescue that seemed as distant as the stars hidden behind heavy clouds. Thunder growled low in the distance, a steady drumbeat that vibrated through the ground and into the dog's paws. Each distant roll seemed to shake the very bones beneath the German shepherd's weary frame. His ears twitched, sensitive to the surrounding stillness punctuated by the soft patter of rain droplets beginning to fall. His tail flicked erratically, a language of unease and restless vigilance. With every strained pull against the frayed rope, his paws scraped the gravel, digging for purchase, as if willing the earth itself to grant him freedom. The world around him felt alive with unseen threats, shadows stirring beyond his vision, while the storm approached with unforgiving intent. The German shepherd's gaze was the last beacon of hope in the surrounding darkness. His eyes, deep pools of amber, flickered with a mix of fear and aching betrayal. They scanned the empty road with desperate longing, seeking the familiar warmth of hands that once cared, voices that once soothed. But only silence answered. Each passing moment tightened the grip of abandonment, a heavy cloak settling over his soul. In those eyes, the story of love turned to loss was told without words, a silent testament to trust shattered, loyalty rejected, and a heart left to shiver alone beneath the indifferent night sky. Beyond the roadside, the forest edge loomed like a dark fortress, its twisted branches clawing at the sky. Between those gnarled trees, shadows danced, fleeting and ghost-like, moving with quiet intent. They watched, unseen and silent, as the German shepherd's barks broke through the stillness in sharp bursts. His calls echoed, raw and desperate, yet unanswered. The watchers remained cloaked in darkness, their presence hinted at only by the subtle crack of twigs and the faintest stirrings of leaves. In this eerie quiet, the dog's lone battle against invisibility became painfully clear, his voice a beacon amid indifferent eyes. A sudden gust whipped through the roadside, swirling leaves and fine dust into the dog's face. His whiskers trembled as gritty particles brushed against sensitive skin, but he refused to retreat. Shaking his head fiercely, he unleashed a louder bark, raw, cracked, but resolute. The sound cracked through the cold air like a fragile defiance. Fear coursed beneath his voice, yet so did an unyielding determination, a silent vow that he would not surrender to the night. His breath came in ragged pants, white in the chill, as the storm's first drops began to fall heavier. A sudden lightning strike tore across the sky, brief yet violent, lighting the scene in stark contrasts. The German shepherd's silhouette was etched sharply against the cracked pavement, the shadows dancing grotesquely with the thunder's roar. For a moment, the world was illuminated, the soaked fur, the tight rope, the haunted eyes, all laid bare beneath the storm's fury. The thunderclap that followed shook the air, the dog flinching yet standing firm, a lone figure defying the tempest, a silent warrior in a battle far beyond his size or strength. The air was thick with the fresh scent of rain, mingling oddly with the metallic tang of something more primal, fear, desperation, survival. The German shepherd's paws tore into the soft earth beneath him, claws scrabbling with frantic urgency. Each scrape was an echo of his will to live, an instinctual fight against the cold, unyielding chain that bound him. His muzzle brushed the damp soil as he tugged harder, muscles straining, heart pounding. The storm seemed to watch in silence, the rain falling heavier as if in somber accompaniment to his silent struggle. In the midst of the storm and struggle, a fragile moment of warmth pierced the dog's fog of fear. Memories flickered, sunlit afternoons spent in a garden where laughter echoed, a boy's gentle hands stroking his coat, the softness of a hearthside glow. These images shimmered briefly before fading into the cold harshness of the present. The unforgiving night, the biting wind, and the sharp sting of abandonment. In this mental flashback, the dog's silent heart ached, a profound loss interwoven with an unbroken thread of loyalty and hope. With every passing minute, the German shepherd's barks grew rougher, hoarser, raw cries breaking through the desolate night. They echoed endlessly along the empty roadside, swallowed little by the growing storm's howl. Each bark was a desperate plea, an agonizing call for rescue that seemed destined to go unheard. Yet he barked on, voice ragged but unbroken, carrying the weight of abandonment and the faintest glimmer of hope. The night seemed endless, but his spirit refused to fade. A sudden snap of twigs broke the steady rhythm of rain, sending the dog's muscles into sharp tension. His ears flattened against his skull, nostrils flaring as he caught the scent of something, or someone, moving closer. Footsteps, careful but determined, crunched on the wet earth, invisible yet unmistakably near. The shadows shifted in the gloom beyond the trees, and the dog's growl deepened, a primal warning that danger lurked just out of sight. The night had grown darker, and so had the threat. The quiet was shattered by a sudden, sharp crack, a branch broken under heavy weight. In an instant, the dog lunged forward, muscles rippling as he pulled fiercely against the tight rope. His eyes burned with fierce determination, teeth bared in a silent snarl, embodying the perfect balance of fear and unyielding protective instinct. His paws scraped the gravel desperately, desperate for freedom, his whole body alive with the instinct to survive and protect against the unseen threat creeping ever closer. After the furious burst of energy, silence descended, heavy and oppressive as a shroud. The wind died down, the thunder hushed to a murmur, and the rain's gentle drip became the only sound marking the passage of time. Each drop struck the cracked pavement like a ticking clock, a subtle countdown to whatever fate awaited. The dog stood motionless, muscles coiled, eyes scanning the darkness with a quiet but fierce hope. The night held its breath, so did he. Fatigue weighed heavily on the German shepherd. His eyes closed for a brief moment, muscles slackening as exhaustion threatened to claim him. But deep within, a spark of unbroken determination glimmered. In that quiet pause, the dog made a silent vow to survive, to fight, to endure, no matter the cost. When his eyes snapped open again, they blazed with renewed resolve, a beacon of strength in the merciless night. Beyond the veil of rain and shadow, muffled voices drifted softly between unseen figures. Words laced with bitterness and fear slipped into the night air, whispers of betrayal, of losses too painful to name aloud, of secrets buried deep beneath layers of silence. Though distant, the weight of these voices pressed upon the night, intertwining with the dog's plight. It was a story far larger than one abandoned animal, a darkness reaching into the very heart of human despair. The rain turned from a gentle drizzle to a fierce downpour, drumming relentlessly on the pavement and saturating the dog's soaked coat. His body shivered, muscles trembling from cold and fatigue, yet his spirit refused to falter. Lifting his head high against the storm, he unleashed another bark, fierce, defiant, unbroken. It was a cry of rebellion against abandonment, a testament to the unyielding courage that burned bright within him, lighting the darkness with hope. The camera draws close to the German shepherd's eyes, glistening pools that hold a tempest of unshed tears. Those eyes tell a story deeper than words, a soul battered by betrayal but unbowed. In their depths lie pain and hope intertwined, the quiet strength of a survivor waiting for a chance to be seen, to be loved. This lingering image seals the opening scene, a powerful, silent promise that this is only the beginning of a journey toward redemption and belonging. Sunlight spilled through lace curtains, bathing the kitchen in a soft golden glow. Outside, birds chirped lazily as the scent of fresh dew clung to the air. The German shepherd, Max, stretched his lean muscles before padding eagerly toward the staircase. His tail wagged in rhythmic waves, brushing against the wooden floor as he nudged his young companion, Jake, awake with a warm, wet nose. Jake's sleepy smile met Max's bright eyes, their silent morning greeting a ritual of unspoken trust and affection. In the quiet of the living room, Jake sat cross-legged on the rug, sunlight filtering in through the stained glass window, casting dancing colors over his face. His small fingers traced gentle patterns through Max's thick fur, each stroke a wordless promise of friendship. Max closed his eyes, tilting his head slightly, savoring the warmth of the moment. Between them, no words were needed, only the steady beat of companionship, a bond woven from countless shared mornings and unspoken understandings. The backyard burst with life. The scent of freshly cut grass mingled with the distant hum of summer insects. Jake darted between towering sunflowers and fluttering butterflies, his laughter light and carefree. But Max's gaze never left him. Every step Jake took was mirrored by a cautious twitch of Max's ears and a steady shift of his body. His stance was relaxed but ready, a silent sentinel alert to any unseen danger. Their playful game was a dance of trust, with Max's watchful eyes a shield against the unknown. Inside the house, the laughter of Jake's older siblings echoed from the hallway. They playfully tussled Max's ears, their voices teasing yet affectionate. Despite the rough handling, Max remained calm, his eyes soft with patience. He lowered his head, allowing a stray hand to scratch behind his collar before gently licking the cheek of the teasing sister. Loyalty and gentleness radiated from him, an unshakable presence amid the chaotic warmth of family life. His silent endurance mirrored the steady love he bore for each member of the household. As dusk painted the sky in hues of amber and violet, the family's living room took on a cozy glow. The fire crackled softly, filling the air with warmth and the scent of burning wood. Jake sat curled in a worn armchair, Max lying at his feet. Slowly, Max lifted his heavy head, resting it gently in Jake's lap. The boy's fingers ran through the soft fur, steadying his own restless thoughts. In the quiet, their shared breath and the fire's glow spoke volumes, a sanctuary from the day's shadows. Behind the closed doors of the upstairs hallway, hushed voices rose and fell in quiet conflict. The words were muffled, but the sharpness was unmistakable, a tension crackling beneath the family's surface. Downstairs, Max's ears twitched, the subtle shift in atmosphere alerting him to the unrest. His body stiffened, tail lowering slightly as if sensing the fractures that even young Jake could not yet fully understand. The once safe home hummed now with secrets and unspoken fears, threads pulling taut. Suddenly, a sharp voice pierced the quiet, followed by muffled sobbing. Max's ears shot upright, his eyes flickering anxiously between the hallway and the living room. A soft, plaintive whine escaped his throat as Jake scrambled behind the sofa, pressing his small body into the cushions. His eyes, wide and searching, reflected confusion and fear. Max moved closer, nose nudging the boy gently, offering silent comfort amid the storm of adult emotions swirling just beyond their fragile world. Outside, the morning sun warmed the neighborhood street. Neighbors exchanged polite smiles and greetings as they went about their routines. But behind those smiles lurked whispered concerns, hushed talks about strange late-night visitors, unusual silences, and the family's growing withdrawal. Gossip mingled with genuine worry, a social undercurrent rippling through the small community. The dog's vigilant presence was a quiet reminder to many that beneath the surface, something was not right. The local park, once a sanctuary of carefree joy, now bore an uneasy atmosphere. Jake and Max's laughter and playful chase had faded, replaced by cautious glances from distant figures. Rumors whispered behind hands followed the boy and his dog, casting long shadows over familiar paths and swings. Even Max seemed to sense the shift, his tail held lower, eyes scanning the edges of the playground as if guarding against invisible threats. The innocence of play had been tainted by the heavy weight of suspicion. One afternoon, as the golden sun dipped toward the horizon, Max paused near the edge of the family's overgrown garden. His nose twitched sharply, nostrils flaring to catch a faint, acrid scent, smoke. He pawed at the dirt, ears pricked forward in alert. Nearby, adults chatted unaware, their focus elsewhere. This subtle cue, missed by human eyes and ears, planted a seed of worry deep within Max's protective heart. The quiet danger lingered, waiting to unfold. Jake's laughter filled the air as he and Max chased a frisbee across the lawn. Suddenly, the ringing of a phone sliced through the joy. Jake's mother's hurried voice crackled with tension as she spoke softly into the receiver. The boy's laughter faltered, his grip on the frisbee loosening. Max slowed, sensing the shift, his gaze fixed on Jake's pale face. The moment carried an unspoken weight, a silent signal that the carefree days might be numbered. Night settled over the house like a velvet cloak, deep and enveloping. In his small bed, Jake tossed and turned, eyes wide with restless worry. Beside him, Max curled into a protective circle, his warm body a shield against the shadows. His soft breath rose and fell in rhythm with the boy's, ears twitching at every creak and whisper. Together, they faced the night, a silent partnership forged in love and instinct, ready to guard against fears unspoken. At the edge of the neighborhood, an old barn leaned heavily against time. Its paint peeled like cracked skin, and its doors hung crooked on rusted hinges. Locals spoke in hushed tones of the family's troubles, the barn a silent sentinel to secrets best kept in shadows. Max lingered nearby during walks, sniffing the air as if sensing echoes of pain long past. The barn's decay mirrored the fractures growing beneath the surface of a once happy home. Soft murmurs floated through porches and cafes, tales of missed rent, whispered warnings of unfamiliar faces lurking under the cover of darkness. Neighbors exchanged uneasy glances, their concern mingling with suspicion. The dog's protective bark at odd hours only fueled speculation, painting the family as troubled and isolated. The undercurrent of gossip tightened like a noose, threatening to strangle the fragile threads holding the community and family together. One evening, as shadows lengthened, Jake observed Max's behavior change. The dog's steps grew restless, pacing the living room with low, cautious growls. His tail flicked sharply, ears swiveling toward every faint sound. Jake's brow furrowed, a knot of worry tightening in his chest. The subtle signals from his loyal companion whispered a warning. All was not well, and danger lurked unseen. The boys' trust in Max deepened, their bond now a beacon in uncertain times. In a quiet moment, Jake's hand brushed against something tucked behind a drawer. Pulling it free, he uncovered a faded photograph, his smiling face pressed against Max's broad head, sunshine lighting their carefree expressions. The image struck a sharp contrast to the somber present, a poignant reminder of better days. Holding the photo close, Jake felt a mixture of nostalgia and resolve, a silent promise to reclaim the warmth and joy that had begun to fade. The stillness of night was broken by distant sirens, wailing echoes bouncing off sleepy houses. Max's soft whimper cut through the darkness, a sound filled with longing and uncertainty. His ears flattened as he pressed closer to Jake, seeking reassurance while conveying a deep-rooted anxiety. The sirens were a haunting lullaby, blending the promise of help with the shadows of fear. In that fragile soundscape, hope and dread danced hand in paw. Suddenly, the lights blinked once, twice, then vanished altogether. The house was swallowed by darkness, thick and suffocating. Jake's breath hitched as his fingers gripped Max's fur, seeking comfort in the familiar warmth. The dog's eyes glowed softly in the blackness, a steady pulse of calm in the void. Outside, the wind whispered warnings through cracked windows. The blackout was more than electrical failure. It was a symbol of the unknown shadows closing in. Peering through the slit in the curtains, Jake caught a glimpse of a figure slipping silently down the lane. The silhouette was vague but purposeful, disappearing into the misty night. His heart pounded, emotions tangled in a knot of fear and curiosity. Max's muscles tensed beside him, ears alert. The shadow held secrets, silent threats lurking in the neighborhood's quiet corners. For Jake, the moment was a turning point, a pull toward uncovering the truth hidden in darkness. During an afternoon walk, Max suddenly stopped, nostrils flaring as a strange scent wafted through the warm air. The faint trace of unfamiliar perfume prickled at his senses, setting his body on edge. His tail stiffened, ears pivoting sharply as his gaze scanned the nearby shrubs. Protective instincts surged, warning of an unseen presence too close for comfort. For Jake, this was another sign. Their once safe world was shifting, shadows lengthening in unexpected ways. Late into the night, muffled voices carried through the thin walls, heated words dipped in sorrow and frustration. Jake hid beneath his blanket, trembling but comforted by Max's solid presence beside him. The dog's ears twitched at every syllable, growls rumbling low when harsh tones broke through. In the dim glow of the moonlight, boy and dog faced a world where trust wavered and fear settled deep. Yet, their bond remained a steadfast refuge amid the storm. Morning light revealed an empty driveway. The family car, a symbol of fleeting normalcy, was gone. The absence echoed louder than words, stirring a cold unease. Jake stood silently by the window, Max at his side, both sensing that something irrevocable had shifted. The missing car was more than a vehicle, it was a fracture in their fragile reality. Outside, neighbors whispered, glancing with concern and speculation. The story was moving into darker territory. For hours, Max remained by the front door, his posture a blend of hope and bewilderment. Ears tilted forward, catching every sound, tail low but not tucked, a cautious optimism. His eyes flicked to the street beyond, waiting for familiar footsteps or the return of voices that once filled the home. The silence was heavy, thick with uncertainty, but Max refused to surrender. In his stillness was a fierce hope that tomorrow would bring answers and reunion. As twilight draped its violet cloak over the sleepy town, streets emptied and lights dimmed. Yet beneath the calm surface, unspoken fears pulsed like a hidden current. Neighbors exchanged brief, wary glances, conversations stilled, and the night air thickened with tension. Shadows lengthened, not just of the evening, but of secrets yet to be revealed. The stage was set, a tale of loyalty, loss, and courage ready to unfold, carried forward by a boy and his faithful German shepherd. The first rays of sunlight filtered softly through the leafy canopy, casting a golden glow on the sleepy neighborhood. Max, the German shepherd, sat by the front door, ears perked, eyes shining with anticipation. His tail wagged in steady rhythm as Jake tied his sneakers, the familiar sounds sparking excitement. With every step Jake took down the porch stairs, Max's paws patted lightly on the porch, matching the boy's eager pace, a dance of companionship greeting a new day filled with promise. Out in the sprawling fields beyond their home, Jake's laughter rippled through the air like a warm melody. Max trotted beside him, tongue lolling in a contented pant. The scent of wildflowers and fresh earth filled their lungs as they darted through sun-dappled paths. Max's alert gaze scanned the perimeter, protective yet joyful. Every playful leap and chase was a testament to their bond, a shared world where worries faded and only trust and freedom remained. Amid their playful adventure, Max suddenly halted, muscles taut. His ears twitched, rotating toward a faint rustle deeper in the woods. The soft snap of a twig, barely audible, sent ripples of alertness through him. He lowered his head, nose sniffing the breeze, senses sharpening. Jake noticed the shift, brow furrowing in concern. A chill settled over the carefree moment, a whisper of unease carried by the wind, hinting that not all was as peaceful as it seemed. Back at the house, Max settled by the front door, his posture alert but calm. The neighborhood buzzed softly, lawnmowers hummed, neighbors chatted over fences, and children's voices echoed faintly. Max's ears flicked toward every sound, eyes fixed on the street. His tail lay still, a sentinel's patience marking his watch. Though the day's adventures had ended, his protective instincts remained unwavering, silently promising safety to the home he cherished. Jake approached, slipping off his shoes quietly. He knelt beside Max, fingers reaching out to trace gentle circles behind the dog's ears. Max's eyes softened, a quiet sigh escaping as the boy's touch settled like a balm. No words were spoken, only the language of trust and love conveyed through shared breath and soft fur. In that simple act, years of loyalty were sealed anew, an unbreakable bond weaving them ever closer. The backyard was alive with late afternoon light, shadows stretching lazily across the grass. Jake tossed a bright red ball, watching it arc through the air. Max sprinted with purpose, muscles rippling, eyes locked on the prize. He returned it promptly, dropping it at Jake's feet with a gentle nudge. The dog's eagerness was tempered by keen intelligence. Every retrieval a lesson learned, a promise kept. Their game was a ritual of joy and mutual respect. Near the garden's edge, the weathered wooden fence groaned softly as a breeze whispered through. Loose boards shifted, casting long shadows across the lawn. Max paused, ears flicking toward the creek, nose lifting to catch faint scents. Though the moment was brief, it carried a weight of neglect. Small cracks in the fortress meant to protect. Jake noticed too, a furrow of thought crossing his youthful face, an unspoken question about what lay beyond safety's fragile boundaries. Inside the cozy living room, warmth radiated from the fireplace, but shadows lurked beyond the flickering light. From a closed door, muffled voices rose in quiet argument, tones edged with frustration and worry. Max's eyes darted toward the source, reflecting silent concern as his body stiffened. Jake sat nearby, absorbed in a book, unaware of the storm brewing behind closed doors. The dog's alert gaze was a quiet alarm, sensing the invisible rift threatening their fragile peace. As evening deepened, Jake nestled beside Max on the living room rug. His voice dropped to a soft whisper, sharing secrets and dreams, hopes for adventures, wishes for tomorrow. Max listened intently, head tilted, eyes glimmering with gentle understanding. Their shared space was a sanctuary where words flowed freely, yet silence spoke volumes. In these moments, the dog was not just protector but confidant, the keeper of childhood's fragile innocence. Outside, a figure slipped past the window's edge, shadow briefly darkening the glass before vanishing into the night. Max's ears twitched sharply, body stiffening in instant alertness. He moved toward the door, low growl rumbling as nose pressed to the air. Jake glanced up, puzzled, but saw nothing. The visitor remained unseen, yet the tension lingered, a silent threat slipping through the cracks of their once safe world. The backyard glowed under strings of soft lights as Jake's father led Max through familiar training routines. Each command, sit, stay, come, was met with precision, Max's eyes bright with focus. His tail wagged proudly, a gentle pant escaping as he awaited the next cue. The session was more than obedience, it was a dance of trust and discipline, a language binding dog and family. In Max's steady devotion, hope and resilience took tangible form. Clouds gathered like dark curtains, muting the evening light. A low rumble of thunder rolled through the valley, shaking leaves and rattling windows. Max's ears flattened against his skull as a soft whimper slipped from his throat. He sought Jake's side, pressing close as raindrops began to fall, cold and insistent. The approaching storm stirred old fears, both canine and human, weaving tension through the quiet house. Seeking comfort, Jake wrapped his arms around Max's broad neck. The dog's fur was warm beneath his hands, but beneath that closeness, Max remained tense, muscles coiled, eyes sharp, tail flicking slowly in restless vigilance. Outside, shadows lengthened and moved unpredictably. While the boy found solace, Max guarded them both, his instincts honed by unseen dangers, silently bridging protection and love. On the street beyond, soft voices drifted through the night. whispers of late-night disturbances, unexplained lights, and unusual visitors. The conversations carried on the breeze found their way through cracks in the window frame, reaching Max's attentive ears. His nose twitched at every new scent, eyes narrowing. These murmurs hinted at a world shifting outside their fragile bubble, a community on edge, setting the stage for shadows to fall closer. One morning, Max paused at the front step, nostrils flaring sharply. His head tilted as a faint, unfamiliar scent lingered on the wooden porch, a trace of perfume, a hint of something foreign. He circled once, alert but silent, tail flicking with caution. The subtle warning was lost on the adults busy inside, but not on Max, whose instinct screamed that the delicate balance of safety was threatened by unseen hands. Deep into the night, soft footsteps echoed faintly on the gravel driveway. Max's ears pricked instantly, nostrils flaring as he rose, muscles taut. A low, guttural growl vibrated from his throat, a warning and a promise to protect. The night held its breath as he paced near the door, eyes fixed on the dark shadows beyond the porch light. The world had changed. Threats once distant were now dangerously near. While Jake slept soundly, dreams untouched by fear, Max prowled the living room with restless vigilance. His paws moved softly across the hardwood, nose to the air, ears flicking toward the faintest sound. Each careful sniff spoke of unease, a silent prayer for safety. The dog's watchful presence was a shield, guarding innocence even as shadows crept closer to the heart of their home. Outside, the fence groaned softly as a loose plank swung in the evening breeze. Its creak was subtle but carried a weight beyond the sound, a sign that someone or something had breached their boundary. The family remained unaware, busy inside with everyday distractions. But Max's keen eyes caught the movement, his body stiffening. The broken plank was a crack in the fortress, hinting that safety was an illusion soon to be shattered. Max perched by the living room window, the fading light casting long shadows across his coat. His gaze fixed on a solitary figure retreating down the street, movements deliberate and quick. The dog's tail flicked sharply, a signal of distrust and watchfulness. The street, once familiar, now seemed foreign, laced with secrets. Max's protective instinct sharpened, knowing that threats often came cloaked in the guise of normalcy. In the quiet of night, Jake whispered tales of heroes and adventures, his voice soft yet filled with hope. Max sat upright, ears forward, eyes shining with pride. The dog's body language spoke of readiness, a silent vow to be the guardian of every story, every dream. Their bond was a fortress built on trust, courage, and unwavering loyalty, a beacon of light against the encroaching darkness. Behind the heavy oak door, voices rose in heated argument, words edged with pain, frustration, and fear. Though muffled, the intensity seeped through, setting Max on edge. His muscles tensed, tail lowering as protective instincts flared. He paced the hallway, ears twitching at every sound, sensing the fragile fabric of family unraveling. The dog's silent watch became a shield against chaos, a steady presence amid growing storms. In the dim light of the hallway, Max's amber eyes locked with Jake's. In that gaze was an unspoken dialogue, a recognition of shifting tides and the unknown journey ahead. The boy's breath caught as he reached out, hand trembling slightly, resting on the dog's head. Max responded with a soft nuzzle, a comfort and promise woven into their silent connection. Together, they prepared for the changes looming just beyond the horizon. Across the street, Mrs. Ellis watched from her porch, lips pursed as Max moved deliberately along the yard's edge. Her eyes flickered with suspicion, whispers of distrust mingling with concern. The dog's presence, once welcomed, was now a point of silent judgment. The community's gaze grew heavy with scrutiny, adding weight to the family's isolation. Max sensed the tension but remained undeterred, a guardian undaunted by shadows. As darkness draped the neighborhood, Max curled close to Jake's side, the boy's steady breathing a lullaby in the quiet room. Outside, the wind whispered secrets through the trees, and distant lights flickered with unsettling irregularity. Neither sensed the storm gathering beyond their walls, the fragile peace soon to be shattered. In that moment of calm, a silent promise held strong, that whatever came, they would face it together. The usual quiet of the house shattered with sharp, raised voices echoing from behind the closed kitchen door. Max's ears flicked back nervously, his body stiffening as he strained to catch every word, even though the muffled shouts offered no clarity. The atmosphere felt charged, a sudden storm brewing beneath the surface of familiar walls. Max pressed closer to Jake, as if to protect the boy from the growing storm inside, his tail flicking uncertainly. Heavy footsteps pounded down the hallway, fast and erratic. Max's eyes darted towards the sound, muscles tensing as his tail flicked rapidly, a silent signal of mounting anxiety. Each step seemed to carry urgency, unease rippling through the house like an invisible current. Max's nostrils flared, catching scents both familiar and foreign, his instincts warning of disruption, even as Jake sat frozen, trying to make sense of the invisible threat. A sharp slam echoed through the house, the kitchen door shutting hard against its frame. Max's body jolted, his growl low and guttural, a warning to unseen intruders or danger lurking beyond the shadows. His eyes locked on the darkened hallway, pupils wide, nostrils quivering with caution. The dog's protective stance was unwavering, but beneath it lay a ripple of confusion, a silent question of what had suddenly fractured their fragile peace. Jake wrapped his small hands tightly in Max's thick fur, seeking comfort as the muffled arguing seeped through the walls like a cold draft. His wide eyes reflected a mix of confusion and growing fear, the safe world he knew cracking around him. Max responded by pressing closer, head resting gently against Jake's chest. Their silent connection was a fragile island amid the storm, a shield against the unraveling tension. Max paced the worn carpet, claws clicking softly against the hardwood floor. The fading daylight cast long shadows across the room, transforming familiar corners into ominous shapes. The house, once a refuge, now felt constricting, as if the walls themselves were closing in. Max's restless circles grew tighter, ears twitching at every creak and whisper. The dog's unease was tangible, a warning carried silently in each wary glance. The arguing voices escalated, slicing through the quiet like sharpened blades. Max's growl deepened, resonating with raw protectiveness that surged beyond reason. Despite the adults dismissing the tension as trivial, Max felt it acutely, a threat to the fragile harmony he guarded. His body lowered in readiness, tail stiff, eyes blazing with fierce loyalty. The dog's instincts were clear. Danger was near, even if humans chose to ignore it. Footsteps thudded briskly down the hall, the hurried cadence carrying a note of distress. Max's eyes tracked the movement, tail lowered in uneasy submission but muscles taut with alertness. His nose twitched as he caught subtle scents, fear, frustration, unresolved sorrow. The dog's silent plea for peace went unheard as the hurried footsteps faded, leaving behind a silence thick with unspoken trouble. Max settled by the door, watchful and waiting. Outside the window, a shadow flickered just beyond the porch light's reach. Max's ears perked sharply as a sharp bark burst from his throat, urgent, accusing. The sudden noise sliced through the night's fragile calm. Jake's mother, weary and tense, hushed him quickly, brushing off the warning as imagined fears. But Max remained fixated, eyes narrowing as the shadow dissolved into darkness, a silent sentinel aware of unseen watchers. A sudden bark broke the stillness from across the street, echoing into the night. Max's ears twitched as he responded with a low growl. Soon, other dogs joined in, a chorus of unease rippling through the neighborhood. The cacophony unsettled the family, tension rising with every echo. Inside, whispered voices grew hushed, windows closed tight. Max's gaze hardened. Instinct screamed that the neighborhood's peaceful facade was cracking. Jake knelt beside Max, voice soft and soothing as he whispered promises of safety. His small hand stroked Max's ears, attempting to quell the rising tension. Yet, Max's gaze remained fixed on the doorway, eyes sharp and restless. The dog's body language told a story Jake didn't fully understand, one of silent alarm and protective readiness. Though comforted by the boy's touch, Max's instincts warned of danger lurking just out of sight. A subtle creak echoed faintly from the attic above, slicing through the night silence. Max's head shot upward, ears erect and eyes gleaming with heightened awareness. His tail stiffened, moving in slow, deliberate flicks as he prepared for whatever unseen presence disturbed their home. The sound was small, but to Max, it was a beacon of possible threat, a whisper from the shadows demanding his immediate attention. Just the house settling, Jake's father muttered, voice rough with fatigue, brushing off Max's alert stance and Jake's nervous questions. Yet, Max's soft whine pierced the quiet, a plaintive sound echoing distrust. His eyes searched the dim room, unblinking and wary. The dog's intuition told a tale beyond mere noises, sensing the tension humans chose to deny. The fragile calm masked the growing storm beneath their feet. Max settled beside Jake once more, body warm and steady against the boy's trembling frame. His head rested gently on Jake's lap, eyes half closed in a gesture of reassurance. The house around them buzzed with unseen tensions, but here, in this quiet moment, there was peace. The dog's silent presence was a balm, a steadfast guardian offering love without words amid the chaos unraveling beyond the walls. Heavy footsteps thudded on the wooden porch, slow and deliberate. Max's hackles rose, fur bristling along his spine as he stood, body rigid with warning. His growl rumbled low in his throat, eyes locked on the shadowed figure silhouetted against the porch light. Jake's breath caught, an unspoken tension hung thick in the air. The visitor's intentions were unknown, and Max's protective instincts braced for what might come next. A sudden crash shattered the night's fragile quiet, a clatter of falling dishes or a toppled chair. Max sprang from his resting place, muscles coiled and nose to the ground. He dashed toward the kitchen, ears alert to every sound, tail stiff with anticipation. The family followed, breath held tight. Max's fierce gaze swept the room, searching for the source of disturbance, ready to defend the home and those within at any cost. Max's nose twitched, catching an alien scent layered over the familiar aromas of home. A low growl vibrated from deep within his chest as he circled, tail flicking sharply. His eyes narrowed, scanning the room with mounting suspicion. The presence was subtle but unmistakable, a whisper of intrusion, a threat invisible to human senses but crystal clear to Max's vigilant instincts. The tension thickened like a tightening noose. Faint shadows danced through the thin curtains, cast by flickering streetlights outside. Max froze, every muscle taut as he fixed his gaze on the shifting shapes. His ears pricked forward, tail stiff and motionless, signaling unseen danger. The house seemed to hold its breath, the silent warning vibrating in the stillness. Max's presence was a quiet shield, standing guard against threats lurking just beyond human perception. Jake's eyes widened as Max refused to move from his side, the dog's body low and tense, tail tucked but gaze fierce. The protective barrier was clear, no one could come near. Jake's heart pounded with a mix of fear and trust. In that moment, the boy understood the depth of Max's loyalty, feeling both the weight and warmth of his guardian's silent promise. The house plunged into an oppressive silence, heavier than the quiet before. Only Max's soft, trembling whine cut through the stillness, a fragile sound loaded with unspoken fear and anticipation. The air felt charged, as if the world itself waited for the next move. Jake clutched Max closer, their shared vulnerability a beacon of hope in the encroaching darkness. From behind another closed door, whispered accusations sliced through the air, voices thick with blame and regret. Max's ears flattened, his eyes mirroring the boy's growing distress. Jake's small hands trembled as he sought comfort in Max's steady presence. The dog absorbed the tension, a silent witness to the fractures widening within the family, a reminder of the fragile world they all struggled to hold together. Max's nose pressed to the floor, catching a faint scent on a torn piece of fabric. He nudged it gently with his snout, eyes narrowing in curiosity and concern. The fragment was out of place, a silent clue to conflicts hidden beneath the surface. This small discovery deepened the mystery, hinting at troubles the family had yet to confront, as Max's instincts pushed him to uncover truths beyond words. The once warm home now felt fractured, its walls heavy with unspoken pain and growing distance. Max sat by the window, amber eyes reflecting silent worry and longing. His tail lay still, a stark contrast to the lively spirit that once filled the house. The dog's vigil was unending, a quiet plea for healing and restoration in a world slowly unraveling, a silent guardian yearning for peace. Under the cloak of darkness, a shadowy figure moved silently through the cracked gate, careful to avoid detection. Inside the house, the family remained unaware, wrapped in uneasy sleep. But Max's eyes, sharp and unblinking, caught every movement. His ears twitched, muscles coiling in alertness. The dog's gaze never wavered from the intruder, a silent guardian ready to sound the alarm at any hint of threat. Curtains twitched and whispered voices spilled into the cool night air. Behind closed doors, neighbors exchanged uneasy tales, footsteps echoing, distant voices, unexplained noises drifting from the troubled household. Their voices held a mix of concern and suspicion, painting a picture of a family shrouded in mystery. The murmur of gossip wove itself into the night, stirring unease that even Max seemed to sense from across the street. The quiet was shattered by slow, deliberate footsteps approaching the house. Max's fur prickled along his spine, a primal warning rising from deep within. A low growl rumbled, vibrating with fierce protectiveness, yet within the walls, the humans remained unaware or unwilling to heed the alarm. Max's gaze flicked toward the darkened doorway, eyes sharp and vigilant, sensing a threat invisible to human senses. At the local farmer's market, Mrs. Alvarez's voice lowered to a conspiratorial whisper. Her eyes darted around as she recounted strange events, late-night visitors, whispered arguments, and an unease that gripped the neighborhood. Her words carried the weight of fear and fascination, spreading seeds of doubt about the family's secrets. The undercurrent of gossip grew, and with it, the community's collective unease deepened. The cozy cafe buzzed with divided conversations. Some dismissed the rumors as baseless gossip, chalking up the noises to imagination or old house creaks. Others spoke in hushed tones, convinced there was a dark secret lurking beneath the family's quiet facade. These conflicting beliefs mirrored the community's fractured trust. The dog's keen senses, unnoticed in the cafe's warmth, remained attuned to dangers the humans refused to acknowledge. Jake watched Max's eyes fixate on a shadowed figure near the edge of the property. The dog's body was tense, tail flicking in silent alarm. Jake's heart quickened, a ripple of unease washing over him, though he couldn't fully understand what Max sensed. The boy's gaze followed the dog's unwavering stare, feeling the weight of an unspoken warning that hovered in the chilly air like a gathering storm. At dawn, a plain, unmarked package sat ominously on the doorstep. Max approached cautiously, sniffing the air thick with unfamiliar scents. His growl was low and warning as he backed away, alerting the family to the unknown arrival. Neighbors' whispers swelled, eyes narrowing as speculation turned to suspicion. The package became a symbol, a physical manifestation of the invisible tensions threading through the community. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Max methodically sniffed the front porch, nose twitching at traces of strange perfumes and unfamiliar colognes. His body stiffened with each new scent, a silent alarm sounding in his vigilant mind. Though no threat was visible, the dog's instincts knew danger lingered nearby. The night deepened, shadows lengthening, and Max remained on high alert, guarding against the unseen. In hushed tones, neighbors gathered discreetly, voices edged with fear and frustration. Accusations and doubts surfaced beneath carefully chosen words. The once tight-knit community frayed, with loyalties questioned and alliances tested. Max's sharp ears picked up the tension spilling through the thin walls, his watchful eyes reflecting the unrest rippling through the town, a microcosm of the larger mystery engulfing the family. Breaking the night's uneasy calm, Max erupted into a sudden bark, sharp and insistent. His gaze locked onto a fleeting shadow darting across the backyard, movement swift and silent. The family jolted awake, hearts pounding. Max's hackles rose as he circled protectively, signaling danger had breached their sanctuary. The shadow vanished, leaving behind a lingering chill and questions hanging thick in the air. Mrs. Alvarez's visit was brief but unsettling. Her voice trembled slightly as she recounted recent break-ins in neighboring homes, cautioning the boy's mother to stay vigilant. Beneath her concern lay a deeper fear, one unspoken yet palpable. The dog's restless pacing mirrored the tension in the room, both sensing the community's fragile safety was unraveling, thread by anxious thread. A soft creak echoed through the dimly lit hallway, a loose floorboard shifting under unseen weight. Max's ears snapped forward, muscles taut with immediate readiness. His nose quivered as he sniffed the air, sensing disturbance within their own walls. The family dismissed the sound as trivial, but to Max, it was a harbinger, a subtle warning that danger was no longer external but creeping ever closer. Whispers drifted between neighbors, the question hanging in the air like a secret. "Do you think the dog is trying to tell us something?" Eyes glanced toward the house, searching for signs. Max's vigilant watch, once unnoticed, now stirred unease and curiosity. The dog's silent messages were becoming impossible to ignore, a living embodiment of the mystery veiled in shadows. As dusk fell, Jake noticed Max's growing restlessness. The dog paced in tight circles, soft whines escaping his throat. His eyes darted toward distant sounds, muffled voices, footsteps, and the rustle of leaves. The boy's heart echoed Max's anxiety, the weight of the community's unease settling over them both like a thick fog. In that moment, a silent pact formed. Together, they would face whatever darkness loomed. Old wounds whispered through the town's gossip, an unresolved tragedy that had scarred the family years ago. The shadows of the past clung to their reputation, coloring every suspicious glance and hushed conversation. Max's unyielding vigilance seemed to draw strength from these shadows, his protective instincts fueled by echoes of pain and secrets better left buried, yet impossible to forget. Without warning, the neighborhood plunged into pitch-black silence. The abrupt absence of light magnified every creak and rustle. Max's stance shifted, muscles coiled, eyes glowing faintly as he became a sentinel in the consuming darkness. The blackout amplified the family's fears, each heartbeat loud in the void. The dog's presence was a tether to safety, fierce, alert, and unwavering in the night's engulfing shadow. Behind closed doors, neighbors convened in whispered urgency. Their voices carried dread, discussing the family's recent troubles and the unsettling events around the neighborhood. Suspicion wove through their words, painting a picture of secrets, fears, and unspoken dangers. Outside, Max's vigilant eyes scanned the quiet streets, sensing the invisible threads tightening around those he silently vowed to protect. Shadows moved near the property's fringe, figures unknown and silent. Max's low growl deepened, reverberating with fierce warning. His eyes narrowed, fixated on the silhouettes that crept just beyond the family's gaze. Unseen but ever-present, these intruders thickened the air with menace. Max's protective spirit flared, a living barrier between his loved ones and the encroaching unknown. Huddled in a corner, Jake caught fragments of whispered words, danger, secrets, something wrong. His small frame trembled as fear settled deep in his chest. Seeking solace, he buried his face in Max's warm fur, finding steady heartbeats and silent courage. The dog's calm presence was a balm against the boy's rising dread, a reminder that together they might weather the storm gathering around them. Near Max's favorite resting place, a broken fence board lay discarded, splintered wood catching the faint glow of the street lamp. Max sniffed cautiously, nostrils flaring at the faint scent of strangers. The damaged fence was more than neglect. It was a breach, an opening for unknown threats. Max's low growl underscored the silent warning. The fragile boundaries protecting their home were being tested. A crumpled piece of paper danced on the wind, snagging near the garden gate. Max approached slowly, nose twitching as he sniffed the foreign object. The torn paper bore a cryptic scrawl, a fragment of a larger story, hinting at secrets hidden just out of reach. Max's alert stance reflected the growing puzzle that surrounded his family, each clue pulling them deeper into the shadows. The neighborhood fractured under the weight of suspicion. Loyalties splintered as some defended the family, while others whispered doubts behind closed doors. Gossip tangled like vines, choking trust and breeding fear. Max's watchful eyes reflected the community's unrest, his silent presence a steady force amid the chaos. The web of fragile alliances threatened to snap, and the dog's vigil grew ever more urgent. A figure approached the house under the cover of darkness, steps hesitant but purposeful. Max's sudden, fierce growl shattered the night's tension, halting the stranger mid-step. Eyes locked, breaths held. The visitor retreated silently, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions. Max's protective barrier held firm, but the mystery deepened, a shadowy dance between threat and safety unresolved. Twilight bled into night, casting long shadows over the neighborhood. From behind curtains and fences, restless eyes watched the family's home, a silent congregation bound by fear and anticipation. Whispers echoed in the dark, pregnant with unspoken truths. Max lay by the window, ears twitching, sensing the weight of eyes and secrets alike. The stage was set, and the story was far from over. Officer Daniel stepped lightly onto the creaking porch, the evening breeze carrying faint scents of rain and earth. His gaze softened as he lowered himself to Max's level, meeting the dog's wary eyes with a calm steadiness. The German shepherd's ears twitched, nostrils flaring in cautious curiosity. Here was a stranger, yet something about Daniel's gentle voice and patient stance seemed to bridge the gap between suspicion and trust. Max lifted his nose, sniffing Daniel's worn jacket, the scent unfamiliar but not threatening. His tail gave a tentative flick, a small crack in his guarded demeanor. Daniel spoke softly, words laced with warmth that seemed to soothe the dog's instinctive tension. It was a subtle moment, but one that signaled the fragile beginning of an alliance, the kind that might mean protection and understanding in a world thick with uncertainty. Across town, whispers drifted like autumn leaves. Some neighbors eyed Officer Daniels with skepticism, branding him a city type meddling in small-town affairs. Others offered quiet gratitude, seeing him as a potential beacon of hope amid rising unease. The divide reflected the fractured community, torn between old loyalties and the pressing need for answers. Through it all, Max's watchful eyes mirrored the tension weaving through the streets. Mr. Whitman leaned on his fence, a stern silhouette against the fading sun. His gaze fixed on Max, lips curling into a scowl as he muttered under his breath about troublemakers and outsiders stirring unrest. The dog's sharp ears picked up the low grumble, tail stiffening momentarily. The silent standoff between man and dog encapsulated a larger battle, one of trust, suspicion, and community divides deepening by the day. The family's living room shimmered with strained politeness. Behind half-hearted smiles, unspoken words tangled like shadows. The air was heavy with secrets, memories too painful to voice, wounds too fresh to heal. Max lay quietly by the hearth, ears flattened at sharp words exchanged in hushed tones. His gaze flicked from face to face, sensing the emotional fault lines threatening to fracture their fragile peace. Silence stretched taut until a sharp, clipped word shattered it like glass. Max's ears flattened instinctively, muscles tightening in protective response. The boy's eyes darted to the adults, confusion and fear mingling in his gaze. The dog nudged the boy gently, a silent reassurance amid the brewing storm. Outside, the wind whispered secrets, and Max's alert stance hinted at dangers both spoken and hidden. Daniels observed the boy's fleeting glance toward Max, eyes wide, searching for safety in the dog's steady presence. The unspoken plea hung heavy in the room, a fragile cry for protection and understanding. Daniels felt a knot tighten in his chest, realizing this was no ordinary case. The boy's trust in Max was a beacon amid the shadows, and the officer resolved to honor that silent bond with all the empathy he could muster. At the corner table, Mrs. Whitman's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. Her eyes flicked around nervously as she spun tales of odd behaviors and whispered warnings. Veiled threats slipped beneath her carefully chosen words, sowing seeds of doubt and fear. The cafe's hum fell away as her stories took hold, fueling divides and suspicion that cast long shadows over the neighborhood, shadows that Max could sense with every twitch of his keen ears. One misty morning, a plain, unmarked package appeared on the family's doorstep. Its presence was quiet but impossible to ignore. Neighbors exchanged glances tinged with curiosity and unease, the package becoming a tangible symbol of the unknown dangers lurking just beyond sight. Max's nose twitched at the foreign scents emanating from the parcel, his protective growl a low rumble warning of threats unseen but deeply felt. As twilight bled into night, footsteps crunched softly on gravel near the fence. Max stiffened, muscles coiling as his gaze tracked shadowed figures lurking just out of the porch light's reach. His tail raised in quiet warning, ears pinned forward, every sense attuned to the encroaching threat. Inside, the family remained unaware, but the dog's silent vigilance was a steadfast shield against the darkening unknown. In the dim light of the precinct, Daniels sifted through yellowed files, the scent of dust and ink filling the room. Each page told of a decades-old tragedy, loss, betrayal, and secrets long buried beneath polite smiles and quiet streets. As Daniels pieced together the fragments, a sense of urgency gripped him. The past was bleeding into the present, and the dog's warnings were tied to wounds still raw, waiting to be uncovered. Back home, Max settled at Jake's feet, curling protectively as the boy's unease deepened. The quiet tension in the room was palpable, shadows seeming to press in closer with every passing moment. Max's breathing slowed but remained steady, a living anchor grounding Jake's trembling heart. In the dog's calm presence, the boy found courage, a silent promise that he was never alone, no matter the storm outside. Under the harsh glare of streetlights, Mr. Whitman confronted Daniels with sharp words and suspicion. "You're stirring up trouble where there is none," he spat, eyes burning with distrust. Daniels met the gaze calmly, aware of the deep-seated fears fueling the confrontation. The standoff was more than personal. It was a microcosm of a community torn between fear and the desperate need for truth. Pinned to the wrought iron gate was a note, jagged edges, hurried handwriting scrawled across the paper. Its message was cryptic, a riddle that teased more questions than it answered. Max sniffed the note cautiously, sensing the tension it carried. The family gathered, eyes scanning the words with mounting dread. The note was a key, turning silently in the lock of a mystery far deeper than anyone imagined. Voices rose and fell like crashing waves in the living room, frustration and fear spilling from every corner. Amid the storm, Max let out a soft, pleading whine, his eyes locking with each family member in turn. The sound was a tether, a quiet reminder of loyalty and love beyond words. In that fragile moment, tempers softened, and the family's fractured bonds found a fragile thread of hope. In the back of a dusty drawer, Daniel's uncovered photographs yellowed with age. Faces frozen in happier times stared back, shadows lurking just beneath smiles. The images told a story of love, loss, betrayal, and secrets left to fester. As Daniels traced the faded lines, he felt the weight of generations, echoes of pain shaping the present and driving the dog's fierce protectiveness. Thunder cracked like shouts above, lightning illuminating jagged silhouettes outside the window. Jake pressed closer to Max, arms wrapped tightly around the dog's neck. The room felt small against the vast, dark storm, but in Max's steady heartbeat and warm fur, the boy found refuge. Outside, shadows writhed and shifted, a dance of fear and uncertainty that only deepened their silent bond. At the grocery store, Mrs. Whitman's hushed voice spun tales of old misdeeds and whispered scandals. Her words slipped like poison into eager ears, widening cracks between neighbors. The community's fabric stretched thin, suspicion eroding trust. Max's keen eyes took in the widening gulf, the dog's silent vigil a beacon of steadfast loyalty amid growing turmoil. A figure moved stealthily toward the house, shadows swallowing their form. Max's growl erupted suddenly, low, threatening and resolute. The figure froze, caught in the dog's unyielding gaze. For a tense heartbeat, silence held sway. Then, the stranger retreated, leaving a trail of questions and unease in their wake. Max remained unmoving, a silent sentinel guarding secrets still veiled in darkness. In quiet rooms, Daniel sat with the family, his voice measured, his eyes full of empathy. He navigated delicate questions, probing beneath polite facades for truth. The family's responses wavered, caught between shame, fear, and hope. Daniels felt the weight of their pain, knowing that uncovering the past was key to healing, but also that some wounds cut deeper than words could reach. In a dimly lit kitchen, an elderly neighbor's voice trembled as she recounted a tragedy from decades past, a loss that had scarred the neighborhood and shadowed the family ever since. Her words wove threads between past and present, casting new light on the mystery enveloping them. Max listened intently, ears alert, as the echoes of history stirred the air, promising revelations yet to come. In the quiet aftermath of a long day, Max rested his paw gently on Jake's hand, a simple gesture loaded with profound meaning. The boy looked down, eyes meeting the dog's steady gaze, finding comfort in the silent promise of loyalty and protection. Outside, uncertainty swirled, but in that moment, trust blossomed, a beacon of hope amidst encroaching shadows. Darkness deepened, casting long shadows over the neighborhood. From behind curtains and porches, uneasy eyes lingered on the family's home, voices hushed yet heavy with speculation. Fear braided through the murmurs, twisting into suspicion and doubt. Max lay watchful by the window, ears flicking at every sound, embodying the tension that clung to the night like a shroud. Under the cold glow of the porch light, Daniels met Max's unwavering gaze. In that moment, words became unnecessary, a silent pact forged between man and dog. The officer's promise hung heavy in the air. He would uncover the truth, no matter the cost. Max's tail gave a slow, resolute wag, an affirmation of trust and shared purpose, as the storm of secrets gathered strength around them. Under a moonless sky, the soft crunch of gravel echoed faintly near the dilapidated fence. Max's hackles prickled, his body stiffening in alertness. A low, guttural growl rumbled deep in his throat, warning of an unseen presence. Yet inside, the house lay still and unaware, the family's breaths even and deep in sleep. Max's eyes flicked toward the shadows, tension coiling like a spring ready to snap. The night breathed around Max as he circled the perimeter, muscles tense and eyes sharp. His ears twitched at every sound, the rustle of leaves, a distant owl's call, the subtle shift of shadows cast by swaying branches. His tail was a steady metronome of readiness, flicking in short bursts. Each step was calculated, silent except for the faintest pat of paws on soft earth, a sentinel in a world suddenly thick with danger. Max's bark shattered the stillness, a sharp, urgent alarm that ripped through the darkness. Jake jolted upright, heart pounding as his eyes struggled to adjust. Beyond the tree line, a silhouette lingered, swaying slightly in the cold wind. Max's gaze burned fiercely, muscles coiled like a spring. Fear and protection wove tightly within the dog, a living barrier between the family and whatever lurked unseen. Above, heavy footsteps climbed the stairs, oblivious to Max's frantic pacing below. The dog's barks crescendoed, frantic and desperate, but they met only muffled indifference. The boy's pleading eyes met his parents', searching for recognition that never came. Max's growls deepened, frustration etching into every movement. In this divide between instinct and denial, danger found space to creep closer. A sudden gust burst through the cracked window, slamming the back door with a deafening crash. Max's muscles tensed sharply, teeth bared as he strained against the thin leash tethering him. His breaths came quick and shallow, ears pinned back as the wind mingled with distant, haunting noises. The house seemed alive with unseen menace, and Max's protective instincts surged in a desperate attempt to shield his family. Max's nostrils flared sharply as a strange scent drifted beneath the broken gate, metallic, bitter, unfamiliar. His tail stiffened, standing rigid like a warning flag. The scent prickled his senses, a silent alarm that set every fiber of his being on edge. His eyes darted to the shadowed perimeter, muscles coiling to act. Danger was no longer distant. It had crept inside the fragile sanctuary. Jake's trembling hand crept toward Max's thick coat, fingers curling into soft fur as if to anchor himself against the rising storm inside. The warmth beneath his touch grounded the boy, offering fragile comfort amidst the swirling fear. Max's head dipped gently, pressing into the boy's palm, a steady pulse of reassurance. Together, they shared a quiet moment, a fragile shield against the encroaching darkness. A whisper drifted through the night air, words indistinct but laced with menace. Max's eyes narrowed, pupils contracting as he fixed on the shadows folding in the distance. The scent of fear and secrets lingered in the breeze, thickening the air. Every muscle in Max's frame coiled tighter, his low growl a promise. No harm would come without resistance. The unseen watchers had been noticed. Max erupted in a fierce bark, sharp and commanding, a warning that shattered the fragile silence. His body was taut, every muscle primed to defend. The intruder remained hidden, but the message was clear. This territory was guarded, and Max would not yield. The boy clung tighter, eyes wide as tension rippled through the night like a pulse racing toward its climax. A sudden crash tore through the silence, the sharp snap of wood against stone. Max lunged toward the noise, teeth bared and growling low. His paws dug into the earth, digging for purchase as adrenaline surged. The garden fence lay broken, a grim testament to recent trespass. Max's fierce stance spoke volumes. Danger was not just a shadow anymore. It was real, close, and hungry. Inside the quiet living room, the dog's bed lay torn and shredded, stuffing spilling like the remnants of shattered safety. The familiar scent of home was marred by the harshness of violation. Max's eyes scanned the room, ears twitching at the slightest noise, muscles coiled. The destruction was a brutal message. The sanctuary was breached, and the stakes had risen beyond the family's denial. Max's growl deepened into a fierce snarl as a shadow crossed the threshold, attempting stealthy intrusion. His eyes blazed with unwavering courage, muscles ready to strike. The figure froze, caught in the intensity of the dog's unwavering stance. For a moment, the house held its breath. Then, the intruder retreated, chased off by silent heroism and the unyielding loyalty of a dog who refused to back down. Jake's breath hitched as he watched Max stand guard, unwavering against the encroaching darkness. His loyal companion's fierce determination was both a comfort and a stark reminder of the danger pressing in. The boy's heart swelled with pride and fear, pride for the dog's bravery, fear for what they faced. In Max's steady gaze, Jake found a spark of hope flickering defiantly amid the shadows. As the night deepened, distant sounds faded into an eerie calm, but Max's vigilance remained unbroken. His ears twitched at every rustle, every breath of wind, every whisper of movement. The house slept uneasily, but Max was a sentinel, silent, watchful, and resolute. His steady breathing and unwavering gaze were the only assurances against the invisible threats that stalked the dark. A rustle from the bushes stopped Max in his tracks, sudden, sharp, and unmistakable. His tail stiffened, body tensing like a coiled spring. Eyes narrowed, ears pinned forward as every sense honed in on the unseen presence. The quiet became heavy, thick with anticipation. Max's low growl rolled like thunder, a warning that danger was not just near, it was upon them. Max surged forward, muscles rippling beneath his fur, breath coming in heavy bursts. The shadowy figure ahead loomed ominous, but the dog's resolve was unshakable. Teeth bared, eyes blazing with fierce protection, Max charged, a guardian ready to risk everything. The night erupted in chaos, a clash of shadows and light, courage and fear, as the silent hero fought for those who could not. Jake's sobs broke the stillness, soft and trembling like the fragile night itself. Max curled tightly beside him, warm and steady, his body a shield against the boy's pain. The dog's gentle panting and soft fur offered comfort beyond words, a balm for a heart weighed down by fear and uncertainty. In the quiet embrace, boy and dog found solace, two souls bound by loyalty and love. Near the gate, a broken chain swayed in the wind, a silent testament to Max's desperate attempt at freedom. His paws scraped against the dirt, eyes burning with frustration and determination. Though physically restrained, his spirit remained unbroken, fierce, and resolute. The broken link was a symbol. No matter the obstacles, the fight to protect and survive would never falter. The porch lights flickered uncertainly, casting jittery shadows as a figure bolted down the lane. Max's bark tore through the night, relentless, sharp, and unyielding. His paws pounded the earth in a furious chase, a relentless guardian driving away the threat. The figure disappeared into the darkness, leaving only the echo of the dog's courage ringing clear and true. Panting heavily, Max returned to Jake's side, eyes bright with the fierce light of victory. The night's chaos had passed, but the bond between boy and dog had only deepened. In the silent exchange of glances and soft nudges, Max became more than a pet. He was a silent hero, a steadfast guardian in a world that had grown dark and uncertain. The dog's urgent barking sliced through the quiet house, rousing the family from restless sleep. Heavy footsteps and murmurs filled the halls as they awakened to the warning. Tension hung thick, faces marked by confusion and fear. Max circled anxiously, pacing like a coiled spring, his restless energy a stark reminder that the danger had not passed, only just begun. In the flickering glow of the hallway light, the father's eyes widened in dawning horror. The truth, once buried beneath denial and distraction, now clawed its way to the surface. The dog's frantic behavior was no longer a nuisance but a desperate plea, a warning ignored for too long. Guilt, fear, and determination warred in his gaze as he faced the threat that had silently crept into their lives. As the first pale fingers of dawn brushed the horizon, Max stood silhouetted against the softening sky. His posture was proud and unyielding, a sentinel welcoming the fragile promise of a new day. The cold morning air stirred his fur as the neighborhood slowly awoke, unaware of the silent battles fought beneath the night's veil. In that quiet moment, Max embodied hope and unwavering loyalty. A lull settled over the neighborhood, a brief breath of relief after the storm. But distant sirens sliced through the morning calm, sharp and relentless. The sound was a stark reminder that the night's terror was not over, but merely paused. Inside, the family exchanged wary glances, Max's ears pricked toward the sounds. The fight was far from finished, and the shadows still lingered at the edges. Max's eyes locked with Jake's, steady, warm, and filled with unspoken promise. Tears shimmered on the boy's cheeks, mingling with the quiet strength radiating from his loyal companion. No words were needed. In that gaze lay a vow: no matter what darkness loomed, they would face it together. Bound by loyalty, courage, and love, boy and dog prepared for the battles yet to come. Under the cloak of darkness, Max's bark sliced through the stillness like a warning bell. His paws scraped feverishly at the earth beneath the garden shed, digging with a desperate urgency. The scent of damp soil and decay mingled with the metallic tang of something unseen. Then his claws snagged on fabric, dark, soaked, and stained. Max held it gently between his teeth, eyes blazing with an urgent message none could ignore. Jake's breath caught as he watched Max's frantic digging, heart pounding in sync with each desperate paw stroke. The boy's wide eyes reflected the flickering porch light as he stepped closer, the fabric clutched carefully in Max's mouth. Fear and confusion battled within him. What secrets lay buried here, whispered only by the restless earth and a loyal dog's unyielding instinct? The sharp rap of knuckles shattered the tense silence, echoing through the small house. Max's body froze, muscles taut as his low growl rumbled from deep within. His gaze locked on the shadowed figure framed in the doorway's faint light. Every instinct screamed caution as the dog stepped forward, protective and unyielding, a silent guardian challenging the unknown visitor to reveal their intent. In the dimly lit living room, the father's eyes flickered with skepticism as Max stood resolute near the door. But the dog's unwavering posture and piercing gaze stirred something deeper, a flicker of doubt about long-held beliefs. The father's jaw tightened, shoulders sagging with reluctant acceptance. Could the silent guardian's instincts unveil truths he had refused to see? The room held its breath, caught between denial and awakening. In the quiet kitchen, the mother's hands shook as she unfolded faded photographs, faces frozen in happier times, smiles masking stories untold. Her fingers traced edges worn thin by years of avoidance. Behind the forced calm, memories stirred like ghosts, long-buried secrets threatening to unravel the fragile peace. The scent of worn paper mingled with the heaviness in the room, a silent confession of pain and hidden truths. Officer Daniels unfolded a worn file, placing photographs and documents on the table with measured care. His voice was low, edged with concern as he detailed connections between the strange package and illicit dealings in the nearby woods. The room absorbed the weight of his words, the atmosphere thickening with suspicion and fear. Max's ears twitched, sensing the gravity of revelations stirring beneath the surface. Amidst the turmoil, Max's soft whine broke through, gentle, insistent. He nudged Jake's trembling hand with his cold nose, offering reassurance without words. The boy met the dog's steady eyes and felt the unspoken promise of loyalty and protection. In that fragile moment, their bond deepened, an unbreakable alliance forged in trust, fear, and the quiet courage to face the unknown together. At the town cafe, Mrs. Whitman's voice dropped to a whisper as she confided in a small circle of neighbors. Eyes darted nervously as she spoke of shadowy figures seen near the family's property, stories of a stalker weaving paranoia through the community. The weight of unspoken fears settled like a thick fog, touching every whispered word. Max's alert ears caught the tension carried on the breeze, a silent warning that danger had teeth. Max's ears twitched sharply at the subtle rustle of fabric near the window. His gaze sharpened, pupils narrowing as he fixed on a fleeting shadow slipping away into the night. The scent of unfamiliar cologne lingered faintly, prickling his senses. The figure vanished before human eyes could catch it, but Max's fierce growl echoed in the stillness, a warning that the threat was close, watching, waiting. In the living room's fading light, hushed voices carried heavy decisions. The talk of leaving, starting anew, stirred conflicting emotions, hope flickering against the dark veil of resignation. Jake's breath hitched as he absorbed the weight of uncertainty, eyes fixed on Max's steadfast form. The dog's steady presence anchored him, a reminder that no matter the place, their bond was the true home, fragile but unbreakable. Max's growl erupted sharply, cutting through the father's dismissive words like a blade. The man's eyes flickered, hardening momentarily before cracking under the dog's unwavering stare. For too long, denial had blinded him, but now the palpable tension, the dog's fierce warning, demanded reckoning. A silence fell heavy, broken only by the creak of the old floorboards, a prelude to truths long ignored. The porch lights sputtered, casting wavering shadows over a trail of muddy footprints trailing toward the garden's edge. Max's nose twitched as he traced the path with growing urgency. The faint outline of a cellar door, partially concealed beneath tangled vines, emerged, a secret entry long forgotten. The family gathered, hearts pounding as the reality of hidden depths beneath their feet stirred a fresh wave of dread and determination. A familiar scent wafted through the damp cellar air, sharp and bittersweet. Max's nose twitched, nostrils flaring as memories surged, echoes of loss, betrayal, and pain entwined with the family's fractured history. His eyes reflected the weight of the past, silently urging those around him to confront what had been buried too long. The scent was more than a clue, it was a bridge between wounds and the hope for healing. In a hushed corner, voices hissed sharp and tense, a secret pact made long ago, bound by fear and desperate promises. Words spilled like poison, threatening to unravel the fragile threads holding the family together. Max's ears flattened, sensing the tension thickening the air. The boy's pulse quickened as shadows of betrayal cast a pall over the present, igniting a storm that could shatter more than just silence. As storm clouds gathered inside and out, Max's warm head found Jake's knee, a steadying anchor in a sea of uncertainty. The dog's soft breath and quiet presence spoke louder than words, offering solace amid the chaos. Jake closed his eyes, drawing strength from the familiar rhythm. In this fragile moment, boy and dog forged a sanctuary, a silent pact of comfort against the growing tempest. In the dim light of the cellar, the father's stern facade crumbled. Tears welled and spilled as he met Max's steady gaze, a gaze filled with unwavering loyalty and silent warnings ignored for too long. The years of denial gave way to raw, aching realization. Between sobs, he reached out, touching the dog's fur, an unspoken apology and a vow to listen, finally, to the truth beneath the silence. Amid the cellar's dusty relics, a yellowed letter slipped from a forgotten box. Its faded ink scrawled cryptic warnings, words heavy with dread and foreboding. The family gathered around, breaths caught as the letter revealed secrets long buried and fears freshly awakened. Max's attentive stance mirrored the tension, his gaze flicking between shadows and the faces steeped in the weight of history. Max's bark shattered the still night, sharp and insistent. The family scrambled outside, hearts pounding with rising dread. Near the garden gate, fresh tracks pressed into the soft earth, unmistakably recent. Discarded items and a broken lock whispered of intrusion. The danger was no longer a distant shadow but an immediate threat, pressing close with chilling intent. The air hung heavy with fear and resolve. Under the cold, watchful stars, Jake's voice trembled yet held fierce determination. "I'll never leave you, Max. No matter what comes." His hand found the dog's warm fur, squeezing with unspoken promise. Max responded with a gentle lick and a soft whine, an affirmation of trust and unity. Together, they sealed a bond forged in fire, ready to face the unknown side by side. The first light of dawn painted the horizon in soft gold and pink hues. Max stood tall beside Jake and his parents, silhouettes outlined against the fragile promise of day. The weight of the night's revelations lingered, but so did a newfound strength, a unity forged in loyalty, love, and courage. Together, they faced the rising sun, hearts steeled for the battles yet to come, bound by hope and unshakable trust. The living room, bathed in the soft amber glow of a single lamp, held a heavy silence. The family sat together, shoulders squared but eyes flickering with unspoken fears. Max lay alert at their feet, ears twitching at every creak and whisper. The air was thick with anticipation, a fragile calm before the storm. Each glance spoke volumes of resolve. They were ready, united by more than blood. Jake's fingers trembled as they gripped Max's thick collar, searching for strength in the dog's steady presence. The warmth beneath his palm radiated calm, anchoring him amid the storm of doubt. Max met Jake's gaze with quiet reassurance, a tether of trust. No words passed, but the silent communication was clear. Together, they would face whatever darkness loomed beyond these walls. Outside, twilight deepened shadows, stretching like fingers over the property's edges. Max prowled the perimeter, paws silent against the cold earth. His nose twitched, catching scents faint and unfamiliar. Every rustle of leaves, distant footfall, or whispered wind sharpened his senses. Tail flicking, muscles coiled, he was both sentinel and hunter, alert, ready for the unknown to emerge from the encroaching night. In a corner, Anne's lips moved softly in prayer, a delicate cadence woven from hope and trembling fear. Her hands clasped tightly, knuckles white, as the words flowed like fragile lifelines. The family felt the prayer's weight settle among them, mingling with the oppressive tension. Yet beneath the fear glimmered a fierce hope that they would emerge whole, protected by love and Max's unyielding watch. A faint shuffle at the porch stirred Max from his vigil. His tail flicked sharply, body tensing as his ears swiveled toward the sound. A low growl rumbled deep in his throat, warning invisible intruders away. His gaze sharpened on the darkened entryway, muscles ready to spring. The house seemed to hold its breath, teetering on the edge between safety and chaos. Tom moved methodically, checking each lock and window with practiced care. His fingers were steady, betraying none of the turmoil within. The house, once a sanctuary, now felt fragile and vulnerable. Each secured latch was a small victory against the unknown. He exchanged a brief, reassuring glance with silent promises spoken through steel resolve and shared courage. A creak echoed from the floor above, sharp and sudden. Max's ears shot up. His body coiled like a spring, eyes narrowed and muscles taut. A low growl escaped as he darted toward the staircase, claws clicking against hardwood. Every sense sharpened to the edge, poised between defense and attack, the line between protector and predator thin and trembling. Jake knelt beside Max, voice barely above a whisper, recounting tales of heroes and courage. The words wove a fragile shield around them both, knitting fear into determination. Max's eyes glistened with understanding, tail wagging softly in steady rhythm. The boys' stories were more than comfort, they were vows made in quiet moments, binding their souls against the encroaching darkness. The wind stirred, weaving through the trees and slipping beneath doors. It carried whispers, unintelligible yet haunting, that seemed to press against the walls like unseen fingers. Leaves rustled in restless dance, shadows flickered in corners of vision. The house felt alive with unease, as if the night itself conspired to close in, testing the family's fragile defenses. From the darkened yard, Max's growl rose low and warning. His gaze fixed on a shadow slipping just beyond the fence line, a figure cloaked in night. The muscles in his legs tensed, ready to charge. The house shuddered with the sound, hearts pounding in sync with the dog's fierce alert. The threat had arrived, silent but unmistakable, and drew in a slow, steadying breath, eyes flicking to Max. The dog's fierce gaze burned with unwavering vigilance, a silent sentinel against the creeping dread. She swallowed her fear, drawing strength from his resolve. In the dance of shadows and light, the bond between woman and beast shone brightest, a beacon amid uncertainty. Soft footsteps crunched on gravel, slow and deliberate. Max moved instinctively, planting himself firmly between the family and the front door. His body coiled like a bowstring, tail stiff, eyes blazing with protective fire. The house's fragile barrier thinned, but the dog's presence was a bulwark, silent, fierce, unyielding. Jake's eyes widened, mirroring the fierce courage burning in Max's steady gaze. His small hand found the dog's fur, fingers trembling yet resolute. The fear that had gripped him softened, replaced by a growing fire of determination. Together, they braced against the unknown, united by a bond forged in trust and unspoken promises. The porch light sputtered, casting erratic shadows that danced and flickered. Silhouettes emerged, figures cloaked in darkness, moving with cautious steps. The tension coiled tighter, every breath held as anticipation built. Max's growl deepened, tail bristling in warning. The night's mystery unfolded, shadows creeping closer with silent intent. A sudden, sharp bark erupted, a clarion call piercing the stillness. Max leapt forward, muscles coiled for action. The family stirred, adrenaline flooding veins as fear transmuted into fierce resolve. Doors locked, hands clenched, hearts steeled. The quiet house exploded into readiness, a battleground of wills illuminated by courage and unbreakable bonds. Tom's hand closed tightly around a heavy wooden rod, knuckles white but resolve solid as steel. Eyes met Anne's, then Jake's, silent communication threading through their shared fear and hope. Max growled low, a warning and promise entwined. The family stood together, a fragile fortress bound by love and determination against the gathering darkness. With a burst of speed, Max lunged toward the shadowy figures, teeth bared and growls tearing through the night. His protective fury ignited the moment, shattering hesitation. The clash was sudden and raw, a dance of survival where every move was laced with desperation and courage. Jake's voice rose in a cry of support, echoing the dog's fierce heart. Amidst the chaos, Jake grasped Max's thick fur, his small hands trembling but firm. The dog's warmth and steady heartbeat pulsed beneath his palm, a lifeline in the storm. Fear and love intertwined, fueling a courage that transcended words. Together, they faced the darkness, two souls bound against the night's cruel edge. The shadowy attackers withdrew, melting into the obscurity beyond the fence. But Max's barking rang out, fierce, unyielding, a vow that this was not the end. His eyes burned with warning as the night echoed with the promise of return. The family's breath hitched, knowing the battle was far from over. Back inside, doors bolted and lights flickering, the family gathered close. Hearts pounded loud in the silence, breaths uneven but spirits unbroken. Max settled by the door, eyes scanning, ears twitching, a tireless sentinel. The night's shadows still pressed at the windows, but within these walls, courage glowed steady and fierce. In hushed tones, strategies took shape, whispered plans weaving through fear and determination. Anne's voice steadied, Tom's eyes gleamed with purpose. Max's calm presence was the quiet heart of their resolve. Hope flickered brighter in the heavy air, a fragile flame fed by love, trust, and the dog's unwavering watch. Max's gaze fixed sharply on the window's shadowed glass, muscles taut and ready. His tail stiffened, ears angled forward as the air thickened with anticipation. The silent guardian prepared for whatever lurked beyond. A steadfast heart braced against the night's next whisper. Soft hues of dawn bled across the sky, painting the world in gentle light. Yet Max remained alert, unwavering, his watchful eyes never leaving the threshold. The promise of a new day was tempered by lingering vigilance, a guardian sworn to protect, tireless beneath the awakening sun. In the calm aftermath, Jake's voice broke the silence, gentle and resolute. Together, we can face anything. Max responded with a slow, trusting nuzzle, resting his head against the boy's knee. The bond between them spoke volumes beyond words, a silent vow of loyalty, courage, and unbreakable unity. The cool night pressed heavily around the old farmhouse, muffling even the softest whispers of the wind. Max's body was rigid, his ears twitching as a low, ominous growl rumbled from deep within his throat. His keen eyes fixed on the creeping shadows moving just beyond the fence line, silhouettes swallowed slowly by the darkness but unmistakably closing in. Inside, the family felt the tension spike, unspoken fear mounting, as Max's silent alarm echoed the dread settling into their bones. Jake's small fingers trembled as they grasped Max's thick coat, seeking a lifeline amid the suffocating fear. His wide, glistening eyes locked onto the dog's steady gaze, absorbing strength from the quiet guardian beside him. Despite the terror tightening in his chest, a spark of courage ignited, a silent, unspoken bond that neither darkness nor danger could break. The boy's breath hitched, but Max's calm presence offered a fragile shield against the unknown. Wood splintered violently under heavy footsteps, the sharp crash shattering the fragile stillness. Instinct flared within Max's muscles, propelling him forward with a fierce snarl. His paws pounded against the earth as he lunged at the intruders, teeth bared and eyes blazing with protective fire. The night exploded into chaos, a symphony of bark, shout, and crashing wood, as the family's fiercest protector waged his battle against unseen foes threatening their sanctuary. Max's relentless barking cut through the cacophony like a clarion call, jolting Tom and from their restless slumber. The family stirred instantly, heartbeats quickened, muscles tensed as adrenaline flooded their veins. Doors locked with hurried hands, flashlights grabbed with trembling grips. The dog's fierce cries were both warning and rallying cry, a summons to unite against the encroaching threat now stalking their home's fragile boundaries. Tom's fingers closed tight around the cold metal of a heavy flashlight, his grip steady despite the tremor coursing through him. Every nerve felt sharpened by adrenaline, mind racing through worst-case scenarios even as courage pushed him forward. Each breath was shallow, laden with urgency. As he moved toward the door, the gravity of the situation settled like a stone in his chest. There was no room for hesitation, only resolve. Max's whole body coiled like a spring, then exploded toward the looming shadow. His teeth flashed in a fierce snarl, eyes locked on the figure that threatened his family's safety. Despite the risk of harm, he refused to relent, unyielding, fearless, a true guardian willing to bear the brunt of danger. The clash was brutal, a raw battle between light and dark where loyalty fueled every growl and snap. Jake's frightened screams tore through the chaos, raw and piercing. Yet Max was an unyielding shield, stepping between the boy and danger with deep, protective growls. The dog's body pressed close, muscles tense as he fended off threats unseen by human eyes. The bond between boy and dog became a lifeline, a beacon of hope in the violent tempest that threatened to overwhelm them both. A violent struggle erupted in the darkness, Max wrestling fiercely, every movement charged with unbreakable loyalty. Teeth met hands, claws scraped earth, a testament to the dog's courage born from love and duty. Amid the chaos, Max fought not for glory but to safeguard the fragile lives depending on him. His breath came ragged, but his spirit remained indomitable, and burst into the fray, voice shaking yet resolute. Grabbing a nearby heavy candlestick, she joined Tom and Jake, their combined will a surge of defiance against the shadowed menace. Fear and determination intermingled as family became frontline, an unyielding force bound by love and desperation. Together, they pushed back, refusing to let darkness claim their home. Caught off guard by the family's sudden unity and Max's relentless defense, the intruders hesitated. Confusion flickered in their eyes, spreading through their ranks like wildfire, shaking their resolve. The balance of power shifted palpably as the light of human courage and canine ferocity broke through the veil of night. The threat wavered, uncertain and retreating. Max's growl morphed into a triumphant bark that echoed triumphantly into the night. The intruders, sensing defeat, scrambled back into shadows, dissolving into the darkness they had emerged from. The dog's victorious call was a declaration, not just of survival but of guardianship unwavering. The night had been fought and won for now. Amidst the retreating figures, voices whispered a name familiar and trusted. Shock rippled through the family as the realization dawned. The mastermind behind the menace was a neighbor cloaked in false familiarity. Betrayal stung sharper than any wound, weaving a chilling new layer of danger. The enemy was not a distant shadow but lurking nearby, hidden behind a friendly face. Jake's sobs fell softly, mingled with relief and lingering fear. Max pressed his warm muzzle to the boy's tear-streaked face, gently licking away the pain with steadfast tenderness. Their bond, forged in adversity, radiated strength and comfort. In that silent exchange, they found solace, an unbreakable pact sealed by love and loyalty. Sirens wailing pierced the night as Officer Daniels arrived, his flashlight slicing through the darkness. With calm authority, he illuminated the fleeing shadows, bringing law and order to the chaos. His presence was a beacon of hope, a promise that justice would pursue the darkness back into the night. The family clung to his steady gaze, newfound safety dawning. Max stood resolute under the flickering porch light, battered, muscles taut, but unbroken. His coat was matted with dirt and sweat, eyes burning with quiet pride and fierce loyalty. A silent hero forged in the storm of violence and fear, he embodied the steadfast guardian, the embodiment of courage unspoken yet deeply felt. The family huddled close, breaths ragged but hearts united in gratitude. Arms wrapped around Max, their protector and friend. Tears flowed freely, thankfulness, relief, and love intermingled in the embrace. In that moment, the dog was more than an animal. He was family, their anchor in the storm. Memories flashed through the family's minds, Max's restless pacing, his fierce barks in the dark, his unwavering watchfulness. Each silent warning took on new meaning, a poignant reminder of the dog's devotion. Gratitude deepened, anchored in the understanding that Max's instincts had saved them when words could not. Jake's whisper was steady, brimming with newfound courage. "I'll never leave you, Max. We're in this together." His small hands stroked the dog's fur with tender resolve. The boy's fear had transformed into fierce loyalty, an unbreakable companionship sealed by shared trials and quiet hope. Max's eyes locked with Tom's, a moment heavy with unspoken words. Trust, respect, and gratitude passed between man and dog, deeper than speech. The silent bond was unbreakable, forged in shared struggle. It was a pact of mutual reliance, two guardians bound by love and sacrifice. From behind curtained windows, neighbors whispered, their tones shifting from suspicion to awe. Tales of Max's courage spread quietly through the community, reshaping doubts into respect. The dog had not only protected a family but healed fractures in the neighborhood's wary heart. Dawn's soft light revealed the scars left by the night's chaos, broken fence slats, scattered debris, and tired faces. Yet beneath the damage was profound gratitude. The family moved slowly, their steps heavy but hearts lightened by survival. In the quiet calm, hope bloomed. Officer Daniels' voice was steady and reassuring, promising the family justice and protection. His presence offered a beacon of safety in fragile times. The family found solace in his words, a reminder that though shadows remained, they were no longer alone. Max's warm muzzle brushed Jake's cheek, a gentle nuzzle that soothed frayed nerves. The boy's trembling eased as the dog grounded him in the present safety. It was a quiet moment of peace, a reminder that true refuge was found not in walls, but in bonds of trust and love. Daylight brought new purpose, fixing broken doors, mending hearts, rebuilding lives. Max moved among them, watchful and patient, a silent sentinel in healing. Each repaired nail and gentle word stitched together a fragile new normal, a testament to resilience and hope. As night crept back, a distant siren wailed and faded, a haunting reminder that peace was hard-won and fragile. The family gathered close, shadows long but spirit steady. The battle had ended, but vigilance remained. Max's steady breathing was a pledge that the fight for safety would never cease. Jake clasped Max's worn leather collar with care, fastening it snugly around his neck. More than a simple gesture, it symbolized trust renewed, belonging restored. The dog's eyes met the boy's, shimmering with quiet gratitude. Together, they reaffirmed a bond unbroken by fear or hardship. The first golden rays of dawn painted the horizon as Max stood silhouetted on the porch. His stance was proud, alert, a vigilant guardian welcoming a new day. The night's shadows receded, but his watchfulness remained eternal, a steadfast protector in a world of fragile light. In the soft morning light, the family's story shimmered with newfound meaning, marked by pain endured, resilience forged, and love unshaken. Max's unwavering loyalty had been their shield and guide. Their lives entwined, a testament to the silent heroism that blossoms when hearts beat as one. The first soft rays of dawn slipped through sheer curtains, bathing the house in a warm, golden glow. The heavy weight of the night's terror began to lift as the family stirred, bodies aching but spirits slowly healing. Silent wounds, emotional and physical, began their slow recovery. In this fragile calm, hope blossomed quietly, promising new beginnings amid the lingering shadows of what had been. Max rested, his breathing steady as he nestled close to Jake's feet. The boy's small hand gently stroked the dog's rough fur, a silent thank you for the unwavering protection. Max's eyes closed in contentment, the storm within him quelled for the first time in days. He was more than a pet. He was a hero whose loyalty had shielded a family, now finally cherished and safe. Tom sat at the kitchen table, gaze distant but softening. Slowly, a tentative smile cracked through the exhaustion and regret clouding his features. It was a fragile gesture, yet profound, signaling the first step toward forgiveness and emotional repair. His eyes met Anne's across the room, unspoken apologies exchanged as the family began to rebuild fractured bridges. Anne sat quietly on the worn sofa, tension easing from her shoulders. Max approached gently, his warm nose nudging her trembling hand. The simple touch spoke volumes, a balm for both their hearts, bridging gaps left by fear and silence. In that quiet exchange, the family found a glimmer of peace, a shared understanding stitched through small acts of love. Outside, the once silent neighborhood stirred with new warmth. Neighbors who had lingered in hushed suspicion now stepped forward with open smiles and kind words. The walls of doubt began to crumble as community voices turned from whispers of fear to conversations of support. Slowly, the family's isolation softened, replaced by a fragile but hopeful connection. The sound of Jake's laughter rang through the house again, light and clear like a bell after a long storm. Max bounded beside him, tail wagging energetically, ears perked in delight. Their joy was contagious, lifting the atmosphere and reminding all present that even after darkness, happiness could return. For a brief moment, pain and fear gave way to pure, unbridled joy. Boxes of photographs emerged from dusty closets, faded faces frozen in happier days. As the family gathered around, memories spilled forth, stories of love, adventure, and dreams once shared. These relics of the past breathed life into hope for the future, bridging the gap between what had been lost and what could yet be reclaimed. That evening, beneath a sky peppered with stars, the family circled a modest fire pit. Flames flickered, casting dancing shadows as stories wove through the cool night air. Plans for healing and rebuilding were voiced with tentative hope, voices low but determined. Max lay nearby, a steadfast presence anchoring the family's renewed unity. In the quiet darkness of Jake's room, Max curled protectively at the foot of the bed. His breathing synchronized with the boy's soft slumber, eyes half closed yet alert to every slightest sound. In these moments of fragile peace, Max embodied unwavering guardianship, a silent promise that no harm would come again while he stood watch. The broken fence had been repaired, each sturdy plank a symbol of resilience. Sunlight gleamed off fresh paint, transforming scars of conflict into markers of strength. The family's home stood renewed, walls and boundaries mended, reflecting their own journey from vulnerability toward healing and protection. Anne knelt beside Max, tenderly cleaning scraped fur and bruised skin. Her fingers traced gentle circles, her voice soft with soothing words. This act of care was healing for them both, restoring trust and quiet comfort. In the shared stillness, mother and dog forged a bond renewed, carrying away the pain with every gentle touch. Tom stood in the sun-dappled garden, shovel in hand, planting a young sapling with deliberate care. The act was symbolic, a seed of hope and growth amidst the scars of past turmoil. As soil covered roots, so too did the family begin to bury pain, nurturing new life and possibilities with quiet determination. Max darted through blooming wildflowers, tail flicking with playful energy. Butterflies fluttered ahead, weaving through sunbeams as the dog leapt joyfully, unburdened by shadows past. His spirit, once weighed down by fear and conflict, now soared in the freedom of simple delight, a beacon of renewal and resilience. Jake knelt beside Max, voice soft but earnest. "I'll always be here, no matter what." His fingers entwined in thick fur, holding tight as if to anchor the promise in reality. The bond between boy and dog, forged in trials, was now sealed by words whispered in the quiet, unbreakable, eternal. Neighbors arrived with baskets of food, tools, and kind words. Walls built by fear and suspicion crumbled as hands reached out to rebuild both house and heart. The family felt the warmth of community embrace, small gestures weaving a safety net of support and belonging after a long season of isolation. Max's gaze, once sharp and wary, softened as he settled amidst the renewed warmth of home. Trust blossomed in his eyes, a mirror to the healing unfolding around him. For the first time in a long while, he relaxed fully, belonging not just to a family, but to a community now knitted by compassion. The dining table glowed under warm lamplight as laughter rippled through the room. Stories mixed with smiles, the weight of fear lifted. Plates were filled and refilled, but more importantly, hearts opened wide. In these simple moments, the family rediscovered joy, a foundation for the brighter days ahead. Under a canopy of stars, Max rested his heavy head on Jake's lap. The boy's fingers traced soft circles in fur as silence enveloped them, a silence rich with peace and healing. The night sky bore witness to their quiet restoration, a testament to endurance and the quiet power of love. Shadows of past fears receded with every sunrise. The family stood hand in hand, ready to face what lay ahead with courage born of shared trials. Love became their compass, guiding them beyond pain into a future where resilience and hope were the pillars of their new story. Jake's smile, soft and grateful, met Max's unwavering eyes, a silent language of trust and devotion. Their bond, tested and strengthened by adversity, radiated with quiet power. In that glance lay a promise. Together, they would face anything, forever united. Mrs. Whitman approached the porch hesitantly, voice gentle with remorse. "I'm sorry for doubting you all." Her words, simple but profound, bridged years of suspicion and fear. Smiles replaced guarded glances as old divides melted, sparking the first fragile threads of new friendship in the neighborhood. As dawn broke, Max stood tall on the porch, his silhouette bold against the fiery sky. A symbol of resilience, loyalty, and unwavering guardianship. The battle was over, but his watchful spirit remained, a silent sentinel guarding the family and the promise of peace. Max's eyes held a calm that spoke volumes, a lifetime marked by silent vigilance and unwavering loyalty. Through every trial and quiet moment, his gaze was a testament to the courage that needed no words. In those deep pools, one could see the unspoken promise he carried: to protect, to love, to stand steadfast no matter the cost. Flickering like shadows on a gentle breeze, memories surfaced, shared moments between boy and dog that needed no voice. The warmth of a protective nuzzle, the silent watch during sleepless nights, the sacrifice born without complaint. These fragments formed a tapestry of trust and understanding woven tightly over time, a bond stronger than any spoken vow. Jake's fingers traced slow, tender patterns across Max's thick coat. The simple act held a depth of meaning, comfort, gratitude, and an unbreakable connection. No words could capture the feelings simmering beneath this quiet gesture, a language spoken in soft touches and steady presence that conveyed love more eloquently than speech ever could. The lingering shadows of trauma that once darkened the family's walls began to dissolve under the gentle light of hope. Fear gave way to courage, sorrow to resilience. Slowly, the wounds inside healed as the heart embraced new possibilities. In this transformation lay the quiet miracle of renewal, a future shaped by strength born through pain. Where suspicion once clouded neighborhood eyes, respect now blossomed. Max's tireless guardianship had touched even the coldest hearts, transforming doubts into admiration. Conversations shifted, barriers lowered. The community, once distant and wary, began to see the dog not just as an animal, but as a beacon of loyalty and protection that inspired unity. In the silences shared among the family and community, whispered lessons lingered, stories of endurance, courage, and unwavering spirit. These intangible echoes formed a legacy of strength passed quietly from one soul to another. It was a testament to the power of resilience, a reminder that even the darkest nights give way to dawn. Max settled beneath the sprawling branches of the ancient oak tree, its gnarled limbs stretching wide like a guardian's arms. The scene was a perfect metaphor, steadfast, enduring, and deeply rooted. Here, the dog embodied loyalty not just to a family, but to all who seek protection and unconditional love. The horizon blushed softly with the first light of dawn, a canvas of warm gold and gentle pinks. Max's gaze lifted, reflecting the promise of new beginnings. Beyond the darkness lay hope, waiting patiently. This was more than a sunrise. It was a symbol of the endless cycles of healing and the courage to face whatever tomorrow may bring. Jake's voice, steady and sincere, broke the quiet, "I promise to stand up for those who have no voice." His words echoed the silent courage Max had shown time and again. It was a vow rooted in love and responsibility, a commitment to protect the vulnerable, to listen when silence speaks loudest, and to honor the bond they shared. The gentle rhythm of Max's soft barks and the reassuring press of his paws served as a reminder: true guardianship is often silent. It is spoken in steadfast presence, unyielding loyalty, and a heart that refuses to abandon those in need. In these quiet moments, the power of silent love resonates deeper than any spoken promise. As twilight deepened, Max's silhouette blurred softly against the fading light, a lone sentinel watching over all he cherished. His story, etched in courage and compassion, would echo through time, an inspiration for generations to come. The silence he carried was not absence, but a powerful voice that transcended words. The calm hush of evening invites reflection on the empathy and kindness that bind us to all living beings. Max's journey is a mirror, revealing the profound impact of compassion in a world too often silent. Viewers are called to listen, to act, and to open their hearts to those who communicate beyond words. Together, the family planted a young tree in their yard, its roots digging deep as a living memorial to Max's unwavering love and sacrifice. This growing symbol bore witness to their journey, pain transformed into hope, loss into renewal. With each leaf unfurling, it told a story of resilience and the enduring power of loyalty. Bold, heartfelt words appear on screen. Every animal deserves a chance to love and be loved. Consider adoption, protect the vulnerable, and honor the silent guardians in your life. This call to action challenges viewers to embrace empathy, transforming inspiration into tangible change. The screen fades to a simple, powerful phrase: true loyalty is silent, brave, and forever by your side. These words linger, distilling the essence of Max's story, a timeless truth that resonates far beyond the screen. The final frame dissolves into darkness, the echoes of loyalty, love, and courage settling softly in the soul. The story's end feels like a beginning, a call to honor those who protect without words and to carry their spirit forward with gratitude and strength.